Welcome into Grimm's Gates of Horror. My name is Grimm, this is your new haven for all things horror movie related, and today I'm going to be ranking all 3 seasons of Yellowjackets, and I'm going to be also telling you my thoughts on season 3 since it just wrapped. And yeah, so I just got into Yellowjackets at the beginning of season 3. My friend has been trying to get me to watch it. My little sister has also was telling me to watch it, so I watched the first 2 seasons, and then throughout the last few weeks we've been not binging, but watching each episode weekly as they come out, and it's been fun. It was kind of like eventful. It was like something to look forward to each week, which I really enjoyed. I haven't felt that way with the show since Pretty Little Liars Summer School, which if you haven't checked out my Pretty Little Liars series, I recommend y'all checking that out. I watched the OG series, the spin-offs, including original sin in Summer School, and yeah, that show got canceled, and I'm not gonna lie, there's not a lot of optimism with Yellowjackets. They just haven't been renewed for season 4 yet, and there's supposed to be 5 seasons, but something tells me that after how the last episode ended in season 3, it does not look good, to be honest. But so without further ado, let's get into the ranking. And to be honest, starting off, I was a little conflicted about how to rank these, because season 1 I think was made better overall, but I enjoyed season 3 a lot more. So like 1 I enjoyed, but the other I think is better. So right off the bat, I'm going to talk about season 3, just to get that out of the way. But yeah, I keep going back and forth. Right now I have season 3 in 3rd place because I just think there were a lot of issues with it, but I did enjoy it. Let me just make that clear. I enjoyed it a lot more than season 1. And season 2 is my favorite season. Let's just get that out of the way. And so let's start off with season 3 right off the bat. And so season 3 picks up after this devastating cabin fire that forced the survivors to adapt to even harsher conditions from season 1 and 2. But yeah, with their shelter gone, they had to navigate the rest of winter, but also build their own shelters. And we see that they've taken on more like survival instincts and have really adapted to their environment without the cabin to for hospitality. And if you don't know, Yellowjackets is a show about, and there will be spoilers in this video, let me just get out of the way, there will be spoilers, but if you don't know, Yellowjackets is a TV show that follows a high school girls soccer team whose plane crashes in the wilderness in 1996, but then there's a second timeline where it switches back and forth between the timeline of them lost in the wilderness, trying to survive and adapt to primal instincts, and then there's another timeline set in 2021 where we follow the remaining survivors, the people who survived the plane crash and were rescued, and this is 25 years after being found, and we just see them try to cope with the trauma and deal with their psychological issues that they're still having. And so the show goes back and forth between the 2 timelines, and so right now we're talking about season 3. I've really enjoyed the storylines that we got with the cabin burning down. We try to figure out the question of who burned down the cabin, with there being a trial, putting Coach Ben on trial since he's the most likely suspect, and then them all voting him to be killed off or whatnot. And man, that was just so sad to see him being killed. And then this season really does intensify the themes of trauma, their survival, and the blurred lines between reality and hallucination, as we try to figure out if these hallucinations they're seeing are just like them going mentally insane, or if it's actually some supernatural force in the wilderness. And so we see them kind of spiral more into that madness, while also giving into the primal instincts, mostly young Shauna. And man, it feels like in both timelines they've been trying to paint Shauna as the villain and be cartoonishly evil in within the season. And I remember season 1 and 2, I really liked Shauna. Shauna was a really interesting, and she had really good character development. Because in season 2 we saw her lose her baby, she lost her best friend, but now it just seems like she's a moody teenager, almost not two-dimensional, but she didn't really have a lot of changing emotions. She only had one emotion, which kind of made her less realistic. It felt less authentic, I guess. And I remember from like the first few episodes, I was like, yeah, I'm not really liking Shauna this season. And after finishing the season, it felt like they were painting her or setting her up to be the antagonist, even though she's the protagonist. And it just felt like a weird shift. And then season three also felt like this seasons 1 and 2, they felt more like horrorish vibes. In this season, it felt more thriller, which the show is a thriller drama series, but it just lost that horror factor, which kind of like made me like attracted to the show and made me get like invested into it. And that kind of like felt like it was torn away. Some of the quality of the season just felt really like there was some bad like quality control. It felt like during the last half of the season it was rushed through, and even like the last few episodes, how the last episode ends with like, I'm not even talking about like the pick girl scene with Mari. I'm talking about when like it was almost like with Nat, how like when she like calls to get help up on the mountain, it almost feels like that would be a great way to wrap the show up if it didn't get renewed for like another season. And that's my friend pointed out. She was like, it feels like the show isn't gonna get picked up with how that ended, and like that is like the series finale. I was like, oh my god, that it does feel like that, and that's what kind of like is making me scared that we might not get season 4 or 5. And now I'll talk more about like why I think, because from season 1, the creators have said that they've had the whole series planned out from the start. Now it feels like they don't have anything planned out. It feels like it's like directionless, like, or kind of like they set up seasons 1 and 2, but for season 3 they didn't have it planned out, and they procrastinated like developing it, so like they were rushing to get it done basically. And yeah, it just felt like this season it lacked like a lot of the things that made season 1 and 2 really favorited. Not only that, but the fact that two of their actors, Simone Kessel, who plays adult Lottie, that was another plot this season, like who killed Lottie, which I felt like that storyline didn't get enough development or writing. It kind of like felt like once we got the reveal, it was like kind of like they tried to like rush through that a bit in the last episode. And actually, okay, this just came to me. It kind of feels like, I don't know how many Yellowjackets fans watched like the Marvel like Disney Plus series, but it felt really reminiscent of that. How they had a bunch of setup, and then once they got to the payoff and like the resolution by the end, it felt like how they felt like they were running out of time, and like they were trying to rush through it. That's what it felt like to me. And it's the fact that they also cut a few things out of the last episode, because there was a scene between Sophie Thatcher and Samantha Hanratty, who played missing young Nat, and like when Natalie confronts her about the transponder, and she's just like, "Have you?" There was supposed to be a longer like scene between them for that. And then there was also a scene cut with Tawny, who plays adult Thaisa, where like after she buries Van and like before she eats her heart, she's supposed to have like a monologue or like a really like heartfelt message or speech to Van, and they cut that out. And it's just like stuff like that where I feel like they're now kind of like going off of shock of that value, or like, and stuff like that, because of how much they like focus on like Mari's death. And let me just say, the way that they killed the way that they killed Mari and like treated her was really disrespectful and dehumanizing in my opinion. And it's like, I hate Shauna in this season, but I also feel like the writers like made it like that on purpose, because they want you to hate her because they're painting her to be the villain, because the way that they set it up where Ty and Misty are like plotting against her now, it's kind of like setting that up, and so they are trying to make you hate her. And so I feel like it's like I don't want to be, after thinking about that, kind of don't want to be mad at Shauna, but like because it kind of feels like the writers are trying to manipulate you into hating her and painting her to be this bad villain, almost like Anakin from Star Wars. that's what it felt like. Kind of feel like one of those characters, and I just don't like how they're going about it, and how like if it feels like out of nowhere. I wrote this down too because I rewatched all 3 seasons before making this video, and Shauna literally said, like after they kill Coach Ben, when people die out here, we honor them. And so like she had Nat like prepare Coach Ben for like to eat him and everything. But even for him, she said that when people die here, we honor them. They were gonna honor Coach Ben. But there was none of that from Mari, because like Shauna and Mari had a rivalry throughout this whole season. And going back to the first episode, Mindy and Nat had a conversation about Mari and Shauna, and Mindy was like, maybe it's not just dumb girl shit Nat thinks it is. Like, but out here, it might just be life or death. And so Shauna is getting too much into, like, becoming the leader and, like, dictator of the Yellowjackets. And she's enjoying it way too much. And, like, they're losing their sense of reality, and like, they're becoming too far gone. But there's also some, like, other plot holes where, like, we didn't see Akila come out of the cave, so we don't know where she's at, if she's still in the cave with Lottie. And I also have a long list of plot holes that were from this season and other seasons. But, like, some that come to mind are, like, why didn't Travis or Lottie get an airplane scene when they died? I'm going to talk about the Travis one when we get to season 2, but it's like, I feel like Lottie should have gotten an airplane scene unless her, like, storyline isn't finished yet, even though it feels finished. We just got the shot of her in the morgue with young Lottie. But maybe it's because she's, like, connected to the wilderness more than the others, so, like she serves more of a purpose. But then there's other ones like, why did Ty meet with Lottie before she died? We didn't get that answered. Who burned down the cabin? A lot of times we're pointing to Coach Ben, especially since he got the matches and the rope from at the end of season 2. They kind of, like, tried to make it look like, paint him to be like the red herring almost. But I mean, he probably took the matches and the rope. We saw him haul his boxes that he found with the rope, and the rope that he used to tie Mario up was probably the same rope. So he probably just took the matches in the rope to the cave with him to use. And so we didn't get that answer as well, if it was like a freak accident or something like that. Just a natural cause. We didn't get answered to how long has other Ty been conscious. There's been theories that it has been since, like, she got into, like, a car crash with her wife Simone. That hasn't been answered. And then in the last episode again, we see Misty cleaning out Caligula's cage with her bird, her parrot, and she's nowhere to be seen. Did the parrot die? There was no answer to that. So like, there's just a lot of things that seem to be really pushed aside and just forgotten about. It feels like they're setting up way too much and they don't know how to control it. They don't know how to handle it. And now it just feels really messy. And, like, we did get a couple things answered. We got answered about how they got out, which was Nat, and we got an answer about who the pit girl was. Those are, like, the 2 resolutions that we got, and then the answer of who killed Lottie. That was about it. And I just feel like, even with those, it felt like they, like, were rushing. They pushed past it, and there was a lot of people saying how, like, the scenes that were recreated from the scenes in season 1 with, like, the pit girl. I saw some people. I agree, the shots that were in season 3 look pretty bad compared to season 1, but there was a theory that I saw where basically in season 1 that was from Sean's perspective, and then the scenes that we got which were, like, in different locations, and like the color palette that they used was way different. There were theories that the ones in season 1 were from Sean's perspective, and the ones from season 3 are, like, from everyone's perspective and, like, what really happened, which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's and then some people said, like, how it might have just been a callback, which no, I don't think it's a callback. I think they were actually trying to recreate it, but also it could be from, like, different perspectives. But yeah, it makes more sense when you put it that way. But yeah, it just looked not as clean, not as great quality as it did in season 1. So I feel like I'm being really negative with this, but like the only thing that I really enjoyed this season, I like the performances were amazing as always. The pacing of the season felt faster than the others. That's the one issue I had. That's one of the issues I had with season 1 is I felt like season 1 was really slow with pacing wise as they were trying to set things up, and some of the storylines I just did not care for. So yeah, season 3 is in 3rd place. Season 1 is in 2nd place because of, like, the storyline with Shauna cheating, and then and then Ty with her, like her sleepwalking and like running for her election. Just those storylines I just did not care for, so they just weren't interesting. I was more focused on the young timeline, the 90s timeline. So it's like half of the show I just didn't care for, and the other I did. So that's why, like, I just didn't really like season 1 that much. But season 2 I think was the best season so far. There were, like, some shots in season 2. There were many emotional scenes in season 2 with, like, Coach Ben almost killing himself, Jeff telling Callie about Shauna's baby, Natalie having hope and giving great advice to Lisa, and Shauna grieving her baby. Those were, like, bunch of, like, emotional moments for me. even Natalie's death in season 2, that made me an emotional mess. But it's like in season 3, when it came to Van's death, Lottie's death, Coach Ben's death, like I love Coach Ben, and like even with Mari, like I felt like sadness, but like it didn't bring out like the emotion for me like it did in season 1 or 2. And it's like when it's like seeing the adult Yellowjackets reunite in season 2 remind me a lot of like, the Avengers teaming up, or like if I don't know if y'all have seen the Adam Sandler movie Grown Ups, but it felt like when they all come back together after like so many years at like for like a summer like weekend or at the funeral like in the beginning of that movie. It felt like that. It felt really wholesome and nostalgic seeing like all of the Yellowjackets, remaining Yellowjackets come together older and like reminiscing about like their times in the wilderness a little bit and like talking about what's going on in their lives. It just felt really good and wholesome. And just also the plot following Shauna and Jeff covering their tracks like just had me really engaged and invested and like wondering like how that was all going to play out and whether they were going to get caught or not. And just like just the resolution at the end of season 2 was chef's kiss. Like it felt perfect and like they knew what they were doing with season 2. And I think what really is like what kind of like made season 3 kind of like how it is. I feel like because I've heard a little bit that Juliette Lewis, who plays adult Nat, wanted to be killed off in season 2 because of her role. Because I'm not trying to get too much in like her personal history, but I heard that Juliette Lewis had struggled with an addiction like years ago, and that was her playing. She was told that Natalie was going to be a recovered addict, and because they had her still drinking and everything in the show, it kind of like triggered her a bit and like was like a little traumatic for her, and that's why she didn't want to be in the show anymore. I don't know if that's true, but those were theories I saw. And if they planned for Natalie to live on and she was supposed to play an important part in the show, because also Van was supposed to die in season 1 when she got attacked by the wolf, I believe, but because they liked the young actress a lot more, they kept them on, and that's how we got adult Van. And so because there's a few changes, especially Nat being killed off in the adult timeline, they had to come up with something new and they had to switch things up. And I feel like because they were like scrambling to fix the story, that's what kind of like fell apart this season and why things changed like they did, and they feel so like different. I feel like things like that, and it's also the fact that now Juliette Lewis isn't happy. Simone Kessel is showing that she was disappointed with how Lottie died and thought that she was going to live longer. It's like so a few, and then a few other people are showing like they weren't happy. Like I believe Tawny wasn't happy with how they cut the scene of Ty giving a speech to Van before she eats her heart or something like that. It just, you're basically like alienating your cast. And the way that they were trying to like setting up the airplane scenes, like after they die, it kind of like felt like they were setting it up so that by the end they could have a whole airplane scene where all the adult cast comes back and you see them all in the plane, and I don't feel they're not gonna come back. If you're treating your cast like this and making them unhappy with how their characters are progressing, and it just feels like it's all going to fall apart. And I mean, I really want to see the show succeed. I really want to see season 4, season 5 go on and see like what they were planning this whole time and see it all work out. But I feel like it's all falling apart, to be honest. And I'm really getting deja vu with Pretty Little Liars Summer School because I was really excited. I mean, I was watching that with my other friend last year, and we were really excited for the 3rd season, but it didn't get renewed. We waited a few months, and then it got announced that it was canceled, and yeah. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen with here. This isn't like my other rankings or my other like reviews. I know I was going to do a ranking, but it just turned into like a kind of like a rant about this show. But yeah, if I had to rank this show, it would be in 3rd place, season 3, 2nd place, season 1, and then 1st place, season 2. I just really wanted to talk about the show, let y'all know my thoughts on Yellowjackets, because I really like the show. Some of the choices that they've made this last season, I do not agree with, especially when it came to Mari's death. It just felt really distasteful and really dehumanized her character. And I mean, like the fan base is going crazy as well with like how they're taking Mari's death. I'm not gonna get into all that, but like I feel like both sides are valid. I'm kind of leaning to like the side of like the people who like going against Shauna and are like, yeah, Mari's death was like too far. I'm kind of leaning towards that. But yeah, I think with that situation, it's the writers' fault altogether. The writers should have thought more about this. There should have been a lot more thought going into the season overall. Like I said, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but yeah, it just felt rushed. It felt like it wasn't finished, and they were scrambling to get it done. That's what it felt like. But yeah, hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please drop a like. Let me know what you thought about this season down below, or Yellowjackets in general. Are you enjoying the show? Are you looking forward to the next season? Are you still going to watch the show after how the last episode ended? I'm really curious to see if they do continue, if, like, how long is it going to take until they get rescued? Because we still have a lot to go through, like who dies, who survives. I mean, I think it was even planned for Aquila to appear in the adult timeline at some point, but then that got scrapped as well. So they're having a lot of issues, it seems like. I hope they work it out. Yeah. All my socials are down below in the description below. I have my Instagram down there, my Blue Sky, and my TikTok. Y'all can follow me down there if y'all to keep up. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Grimpire. Turn post notifications on to get notified when I do post again. I plan to be doing a few other videos. If I plan to have a ranking of the seasons of You, preparing for season 5 of You, the final season of the hit Netflix show. I've been watching the show for years now, and we're finally getting the last season. Might be a little emotional for me. I really like that show, but I'll be having that recap / review out and ranking at some point next week or the week after. So hope y'all looking forward to that. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Yellowjackets yet, or if you haven't, I recommend checking out Yellowjackets right now.